What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Social Club, where everyone has a voice, and welcome to the Social Club football event. 31 days, 31 videos. All August long, we're bringing you daily football content, from the NFL to college football and everything in between. Expect videos on Heisman frontrunners, NFL MVPs, bold predictions, hot takes, and more as we gear up for the new season. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a day of football content. We're building more than just content. We're building a community. So make sure to comment your thoughts below every video and let your voice be heard. Other than that, go ahead and pull up a chair, grab a plate, and let's talk football.
What's going on, guys? I'm your host, Nathan Garth. Today we are going to recap the Chargers season from last year and look into the predictions for the 2025 Los Angeles Chargers season. Now let's start with last season. First year under Harbaugh. Harbaugh and Herbert, talk of the town, one of the best QB coach combinations in the league. What are they going to do? This needs to be a playoff team. First year without Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, so there were a lot of different names and faces on that offense, including without Austin Ekeler as well. So the new Vamp Chargers under Jim Harbaugh, we know he wants to pound the rock. We know he wants to run the ball, open up for his quarterback. What do we do in the draft? We get Joe Alt at right tackle. Obviously, we know that Rashawn Slater on the other side of the Chargers O-line was a mainstay, one of the best left tackles in football, but the right side and the interior is what really struggled in years past. Getting Joe Alt, I know a lot of people wanted Malik Neighbors due to the receivers leaving, but Joe Alt was such a good first pick for Joe Ortiz and Jim Harbaugh as their first pick with the Los Angeles Chargers. Then in the second round, we get Ladd McConkey. There were some injury questions. There were some size questions. Was he just good because he was in Georgia's offense, et cetera, et cetera. Arguably the best rookie receiver last year. I know Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas showed out as well. So I definitely think he's probably second or third, depending on how you look at it. But based on Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas being top 20 picks versus Ladd McConkey being a second rounder, I think he performed to what I thought and other Chargers fans and NFL media thought as well. What's not talked about enough is what Joe Ortiz did in the 5th and 6th rounds last year, getting two corners that look like they can be franchise players in Cam Hart from Notre Dame and Terheap Steele from Maryland, who, again, not talked about as much as he should have been, one of the best rookie defenders in football last year. Another area where the Chargers struggled the year prior. We didn't really know the future of Asante Samuel, Michael Davis left, etc. So in Harbaugh's first year, obviously they went from 5 wins the year prior with Herbert injured for a lot of the year to 11 wins, going 11-6, sweeping the Broncos, sweeping the Raiders, still not being able to get over that hump of beating the Chiefs, even though both games the Chargers led in the second half and came down to the wire with 2 game-winning field goals by Kansas City. But overall, a definitely successful season for Harbaugh's first year. He's known for coming in year one and changing a program, whether it be in college or an organization in the NFL, completely upside down. Going into this year, obviously there were some obvious needs. With the interior line, you got the 2 tackles figured out with Slater and Alt, but what is going on with the interior line? Is Zion Johnson a bust from what he looked like his rookie year? Is Bradley Bozeman still a starter in this league? Trey Pipkins making the move from right tackle to right guard. What's his future with the team? And then they go out and get Mekhi Becton. For one, I think shores up a size problem that we had in the interior. I mean, Zion Johnson's a big dude, but Bradley Bozeman and Trey Pipkins, I wouldn't say are intimidating from a size perspective. You go and get the right tackle off the reigning Super Bowl champs, a guy who was drafted as a tackle to New York out of college. And the Eagles were kind of the first people to suggest and make him move to right guard, which obviously proved good for them, and then obviously for Makai's career as well, because he was starting to get some bust thoughts. Now, he wasn't drafted thinking he was going to be a 8-time Pro Bowl tackle by any means, but he was an early pick in the draft. I believe the 2019 draft. I could be wrong. But what the Eagles did with him is show that, hey, you can play interior because your size, your strength, and you don't have to kick step and go against Max Crosby's and Nick Bosa's and Myles Garrett's. And I think this is one of the most underrated signings of the entire NFL offseason. We now have 3 of our 5 offensive linemen being anywhere from very good to elite, depending on how Alt progresses in his second year. But I think 3 possible Pro Bowl offensive linemen on your O-line. Now, there still is a question at left guard and center. Is Zion Johnson going to move over to center? Is Jamari Salyer or Bradley Bozeman going to go to left guard? Is someone going to emerge from our late round picks the last few years that we spent on the O-line? That still remains a question. And then the Chargers go out in the first round this year and get Omarion Hampton. Now, there's always a debate on, is spending first round picks on running backs worth it? Recently, it's worked out great for teams. Falcons taking Bijan earlier than people thought. The Lions taking Jahmyr Gibbs earlier than we thought. Obviously, the Raiders did it this year as well with Ashton Jeanty, who, depending on who you ask, got robbed of a Heisman Trophy last year. But with the departure of J.K. Dobbins, I think getting Omarion Hampton, getting somebody with breakaway speed, he can hit a 60-yard rushing touchdown at any point of the game. He actually averaged 4 yards per carry last year after contact. And he's playing in the ACC. It's not like Ashton Jeanty, where a lot of people have questions on who he faced, how high the competition level really was. Omarion Hampton was playing against Clemson's defense. He was playing Florida State a couple years ago with Jared Verse and Braden Fisk and all of them. I personally did not love the pick at the time. I would have rather gone for a DB or another receiver, but I actually think that it's going to end up being a really good pick. Obviously, we signed Najee Harris as well, a very reliable back. He might not have that breakaway speed that Omarion Hampton has or that big playability, but he has had 1,000 yards in every single season of his career in Pittsburgh. He also has never missed a game before. Now, we'll see how he is at the start of camp with his eye injury from July 4th, which the most obvious Chargers thing ever. Sign a guy that's never had any injury history in his entire career, and then he blows his face off during 4th of July. So we'll see how that turns out. I think he'll be all right, but I really like that 1-2 punch. I think Omarion's probably going to get 60% of the carries. Najee should get some of those short yardage, possibly goal line carries as well. Still have Kamani Vidal at RB3, who we drafted last year, and then we have obviously Hassan Haskins, who kind of showed some power and some versatility in those last couple of games last year. He obviously had that 40-yard touchdown against the Broncos at the end of the year, but he will run through someone's face. So if Hampton or Harris were to ever get injured, I think he would be our short yardage and goal line back. So another Michigan guy that Harbaugh really trusts and likes as well. So I think what we did to improve the running back room, assuming that Hampton is what everyone thinks he's going to be, plus getting Becton. We also signed Andre James from the Raiders, so we'll see if he's a good depth piece on the O-line as well. I think they did a really good job at that. Now at receiver, obviously Ladd coming into his second year, I think he's going to be even better than he was before. Quentin Johnson is Quentin Johnson. I personally still believe in him. I'm a defender of Quentin Johnson. He did have 800 yards and 8 touchdowns last year. I'll take that from a wide receiver too any day. Obviously, it looks worse just because of where he was drafted when the Chargers did take him couple years ago. But then the Chargers go out. They get Trey Harris in the second round, big body receiver, great route runner, great hands. He might not have that 4.4 speed, but he does have that big play ability, whether that be on seam routes, on deep balls, everything like that. Really excited to see. He does look like he's a Mike Williams replacement, but with a little more polished route running and hands as well. So I think that was really good. And then who I'm most excited about is Keandre Lambert-Smith, 5th round pick out of Auburn, formerly at Penn State. Everyone had been talking throughout camp about the big playability he's making, how open he's getting off of corners that press him. He didn't show like he was an elite receiver in college. A lot of that due to being his quarterbacks that were throwing to him. But what I saw from him in the Hall of Fame game earlier this week, I think he's going to be vouching for a starting spot. I mean, that touchdown, breaking the dude off that tried to press him, catching the slant at the 6-yard line, and just accelerating through 2 defenders. And obviously his catch earlier in the game too, he beats a guy right off the line, restacks, and then catches the ball toward the sideline. I think KLS is going to be a stud and going to be one of those players that, like Tarheeb Still was last year, that people wonder how the hell did he get to the 5th round. There are some other picks I liked in the Chargers draft. Kyle Kennard out of South Carolina, reigning SEC Defensive Player of the Year. He does have some limitations, but when you get an SEC Defensive Player of the Year on day 3, I think that's very good value. But besides that, we're going to go into the Chargers predictions for the 2025 season, going game by game too. So obviously the Chargers are starting off the year against the Chiefs in Brazil, a game that last year hosted the Super Bowl champs with the Eagles and the Packers. Funny enough, me and Jacob, the other co-host for Social Club, we're actually planning a trip to go here before. I actually moved, and there were some other things that kind of got in the way, but this game is going to be awesome. I do worry about the field conditions because if you can remember last year, Jordan Love got hurt during the game. Some other players got hurt, and all the players were complaining about the field surface. So praying that there's no injuries on that game. I'm actually going to go with the Chargers starting hot here. Harbaugh is so good early in the year. The Chargers started off 6-2 last year. Like, when the Chargers are healthy, that's when they're at their best, obviously. There might be some growing pains with the shuffled O-line. Obviously some new receivers, some new young receivers as well. But I think the Chargers are going to start off hot and beat the Chiefs in Brazil to start the season. Week 2, Monday Night Football against the Raiders. Chargers starting out hot with the primetime Friday night game against the Chiefs. And then week 2, another primetime game against another division opponent with the Raiders in Las Vegas. I do think the Raiders have improved a lot. Ashton Jeanty, Geno Smith, they did draft heavy defense as well. So I think they're definitely going to be improved, but it's the Chargers versus the Raiders. We know how that goes. I'm taking Chargers to start the year off 2-0 against 2 divisional opponents. Week 3, what do you know? Another divisional opponent with the Broncos. The schedule makers are not giving the Chargers a very easy start by any means. Playing the Chiefs, coming off a Super Bowl, an improved Raiders team, and then a Broncos team who made the playoffs last year with a rookie quarterback, have one of the best defenses in the league. So that is going to be a very tough start. I actually do have the Broncos getting the Chargers here in LA. So the Chargers are now 2-1, also 2-1 in the division. So not a bad start. I think if we came out of that 3-game stretch 2-1, I would be ecstatic, whether that be losing to the Chiefs and beating the Broncos, vice versa, or somehow beating the Chiefs and Broncos and losing to the Raiders, which would not surprise me at all with the Chargers. But week 4, going to New York. Another team that I think is very much improved and will surprise a couple people. Obviously, we know that front seven is very, very good. A lot of this depends on if Jackson Dart's starting or Russell Wilson starting. But either way, I think this will not be as easy as a game as it would usually look when you see the Giants on the schedule, but I do have the Chargers getting the Giants in MetLife. Week 5, at home against the Commanders, a team that surprised everyone last year, making the NFC Championship with Jayden Daniels. We all know how the offense is. They can score on anyone. The defense did struggle at times last year, but I do think the defense is a lot better than it is perceived. They've also made a ton of acquisitions this offseason, but I do have the Chargers dropping this one against the Commanders. So I have the Chargers at 3-2 right now, 0-2 at home, and 2-0 on the road, and then obviously the Brazil game being a neutral site. Week 6 against Miami. Honestly, I don't know where to go with this one. The Chargers and Dolphins have now played 3 times since Tua and Herbert came out in the same class. The Dolphins actually being 2-1 in those games, but I do have the Chargers edging out the Dolphins in this one to start 4-2. Week 7, Indianapolis. I think this is a steamroll. I'm not a Anthony Richardson believer by any means, but the Chargers and Colts have had a couple games since Herbert's been in the league, and we've dominated all of them. So I'm not worried about this. Chargers go to 5-2. Week 8, Thursday Night Football at home against Minnesota. Now, we know Minnesota last year had an outstanding regular season with Sam Darnold and then choked it away with the last game of the season against the Lions for the 1 seed, and then again in the first round of the playoffs against the Rams. I'm going to give this one to the Vikings. I think their front seven is nasty. I think, obviously, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison are almost unguardable. Now, a lot of this depends on how J.J. McCarthy is. If J.J. McCarthy starts the year off horrible, I think we have a lot better chance in this game. I think we'd actually be favored in this game, which we might be anyway. But I'll give this one to the Vikings. So now the Chargers start off 5-3. They go at Tennessee, make that quick, wrap it up. Chargers by 20. Week 10, Pittsburgh. This game's going to be nasty. Sunday Night Football. I'll give this one to Pittsburgh as well. So Chargers are starting out 6-4 to start the season. And this is where the Chargers play Jacksonville. Sorry, had to scroll down the screen there for a second. At Jacksonville, obviously, whenever there's going to be a Chargers-Jacksonville game, the 2023 playoffs come to mind. I don't talk about that day. That's my 9/11.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
But I do think the Chargers outlast the Jaguars. This is probably going to be a very high-scoring game, even though I think the Chargers' defense is going to be loaded this year. Chargers start off 7-4 going into a bye week 12. Finally, the Chargers don't get a week 5 bye and actually get it when they need it. Week 13, Sunday Night Football again against the Raiders. Both Raiders games this year being on primetime. I have the Chargers sweeping the Raiders. I'm sorry. Like I said earlier, the Raiders are going to be better this year, but nah, Chargers aren't losing to the Raiders. 8-4, and this is where the Chargers gauntlet starts. We really need to be at 8 wins before this last 5 games to end the year, because listen to this. We go home against Eagles, Monday Night Football, at the Chiefs, at the Cowboys. That might not be too bad. Home against the Texans, who beat us in the playoffs last year, and then at the Broncos. Last 5 games, you get Super Bowl champs, Super Bowl runner-ups, Cowboys, team that beat you in the playoffs last year, away game in division against another playoff team from last year. That is going to be rough. If they go 3-2 in that would be a huge win, which is actually what I have them doing. Just to go through it quick, I have them losing against Philadelphia, losing against the Chiefs, beating Dallas, beating the Texans, and then beating the Broncos to end the year. So ending on 3 straight wins, which would be huge for them. Have them going 11-6 again this year. This is a gauntlet of a schedule. I really think the only games that don't truly worry me are Indianapolis, Tennessee, and maybe the Giants, I guess. But 11-6 in Harbaugh's second year. I do think that we're going to win a playoff game this year. I mean, if we lose again in the playoffs, I don't know where I go from here. Do I believe in Herbert? It'll have me questioning things I never thought I would ever question. Might be Trey Lance time after what he showed in the Hall of Fame game. But there you have it. I have the 2025 Los Angeles Chargers going 11-6 in year 2 of Harbaugh, winning a playoff game. From there, it all depends on matchups, but I pray that we can get a Chargers-Chiefs playoff game in Arrowhead. I've been waiting for that for so long. But there you have it. Drop down your guys' predictions for what you think the Chargers are going to do this year. I want to hear who you think is going to be a dark horse player that is going to shine on this team. Mine, personally, I think will be Keandre Lambert-Smith. I think he's going to have a similar season that QJ had last year, 800 yards, 8 touchdowns. I know that is lofty for a 5th-round rookie, but I think he's going to get a lot of snaps, and if he stays healthy, he can be a dog. And let me know your team's predictions too. I know that we're going to be putting out predictions for a lot of the NFL teams, but let me know what you think your team's going to do, what games you disagree with me about, what games you do agree with me about. We want to hear them all. So like, comment, subscribe, keep being active with us, and we'll try to respond to all those comments. But with that being said, the 11-6 2025 Los Angeles Chargers.